Today, Freedom Central is graced with the presence of the magnificent Marcel Messing. Marcel, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us. I know you are incredibly busy, and we really appreciate your time today. So first wanted to start off with the journey that you're on. You are someone who is communicating a very valuable message to people at this time, but we first want to know how you came to be on this journey communicating this message.
If you ask me to tell something about my personal journey, first of all, I like to say that every human being is making a personal journey on this earth. And I think the essence from that is that we are making the journey from becoming to being. What are we? Who am I? Am I only a person with a date from birth, living in a place, earning some money with a profession? Or am I something more, like everyone is? I'm always saying I'm not a teacher, I'm a pupil from the life. We can learn a lot of things from each other. And sometimes, perhaps, you can teach something. What can you teach? First of all, that we all are making a journey. And that we have forgotten our destiny. And our real place from the light. So, if I talk about my profession, that's about becoming. If I talk about are we together, being, light, love. So I made a journey, and my journey is not finished. Because if you say my journey is finished, then you say you are on the end place. But if you are on the end place, then there was a beginning. And if there is a beginning and an end, then you are in the becoming. So the person who is sitting here made a journey. I'm born on a place in The Hague. I had a very good family with a lot of persons in a high position. And in my deep feeling, I looked another way to the world. I heard something others, outside, inside. If I looked to the people, I saw more things than normally. And normally I don't speak about these things because very often people is saying, oh, that is the personality. But I had very young the idea, what is that here? So a lot of people are mad or sick, or I am mad and sick, or the rest is sick and mad. And then we need to help each other. So I discovered in my own being that we are here on the earth with a special destination. Of course, I made my studies, I had my education, I had a mother who learned me poetry and music, a father who learned me the language and to play with the grammar and with the words, and he gave an education for looking very, very large to the world. I made my studies. I studied anthropology, philosophy, comparative religions, and after that I was some period a teacher for thousands of students. And I said always, I'm not going to learn your philosophy. I'm going to learn you, I try to do, to think about life, to feel what is life, to smell what is life, to look from the inside what is life, and to hear with your inner voice what is life. Because a lot of philosophers are not saying what is life. They are thinking about life or above life, but not from the inside, from your being. What is life? So I talked also about anthropology because on 3 academies I gave anthropology, and I learned them what is the evolution theory. Is it correct? So we are together, have a little look if the theory of Charles Darwin is correct. And there are a lot of questions. It's not necessary to be some follower from divine design. I'm not in a church, I'm not in a group, I'm not in a sect, I'm a free man. And I had only questions about the theory of evolution. And I learned the students to think about it, to feel about it. to look to the backgrounds of Charles Darwin. So I'm at this moment also writing a book about Darwinism, because I'm also an author and I like it very much to write books and poetry and philosophy. A lot of my books are translated also in Romania, even in Poland. And normally on my journey I wrote books about spirituality. For instance, I was sometimes in the monasteries of the Tibetans, the Tibetan monks. We have a project in India for the fugitives from the Tibetan people. And then we stayed sometimes in the monasteries. And there we learned a lot of things. We had some Rinpoches as teachers. And I learned from other peoples in the forest, literally in the jungle. There was a beautiful teacher who learned me a lot of things. And he had waited on me. So he gave a lot of knowledge, a lot of insight. And it was like a balm from love in my heart. And then I felt very strong, you have to write more books about spirituality, like about Buddhism. I wrote a book about the Buddha, a book about Gnosis. What is the Gospel of Thomas? I had a lovely friend, Erik van Ruisbeek, a mystical person who died in the body, because you cannot die in what you are. And we wrote, for instance, also a book about the Gospel of Thomas, the forbidden gospel by the church, because the church is always giving laws and not loves. And that is what I felt very strong when I was a young boy, that there is an enormous difference between the church from power, the church who tells a lot of lies, and the love of Christ, and the love of Buddha, and the love of Krishna. So I meditated in my life, I taught in my life, I write books, about 25 books in several languages, and I teach people. I try to teach, because, as I said, you are always also a pupil. Even my dog, we have a Tibetan dog, is a teacher for me, because you can learn compassion for all the animals, or you can learn patience. So my journey is going on every day, and had we the time, and it's not for television or also another medium, we could tell a lot of things about a journey. So one day I wrote a book, The Forest of Initiation. That's a book which is translated in several languages, and in that book I wrote my own story, but in images. So you have to seek a little bit what is my journey. The background is India, because if I am in India, I feel me very well there, Bharat, and if it is necessary, I talk with the Hindus like a Hindu. No problem. So you have to take a question and then I give you an answer. So if I am in Bharat, then I speak like the Hindus are speaking, and I learned a lot of things. And just in this time, I feel that spiritual persons have to open the eyes and the ears from human beings, what is happening here on the earth. Because if we talk or seek the motives about our spiritual way, we have to realize very good, if there are a lot of attacks on several levels on humanity, on the sacred creature and creation, then we have to defend ourselves, but not defending with an aggressive tune or an aggressive attitude, but in a force of non-violence and truth, to unveil every lie, which is plenty in this world, plenty. We are in danger on our planet, and I don't say that for making anxious or fear, because normally first we have to feel a little bit fear, and then we have to feel what is our strengths, our spiritual strengths. What is happening now on the planet, perhaps if you have some questions about that, we can talk about it. then it's very important to see that our journey can only continuate if we clean all the karmas, those causes and consequences, which are here on our planet in a difficult situation. And only if we are going back to our consciousness, to what Christ calls the kingdom of God. That's not what the church made from it, the heaven, or the heaven from the Catholics. The kingdom of God is a state of consciousness. If every duality is in oneness, the namaste of the Hindu. So we are in danger, but we have to realize that the dangers are not so strong as we think. If we are going back to our strengths, our spiritual strengths, they are afraid from us. But we don't like enemies, even if they want to be our enemies. We feel a very strong feeling from compassion. But people has to awake now, very, very quickly. For the change is not coming from a person in America. Everything you want to change is not the essence. Change is the world from the waves of the ocean. And you can change a little bit the waves and say, yes, we can. But you have to become the ocean.
That's lovely. I now would like very much to talk about some of the problems that you referred to that are going on in the world. You obviously have been very active in publishing information with regards to the vaccines which are being enforced on people. So please, if you would give us some more insight into what is going on and let people know.
If you speak about the pandemic of the vaccines or the manipulations about viruses, we have to know, first of all, that this is one piece of an agenda, of a program. And what's the program? What's the agenda? From who is the agenda? Who is doing that? Why? Wherefore? Then we are discovering really a conspiracy. And I know a lot of people is laughing about it. The media are writing with mocking it. They don't know what they are saying. They don't know what about they are speaking. What is a conspiracy? In Latin, con means together. Spiring is collaborating in spirit, but they don't do it in spirit. They do it for matter, for ego, for their closed mind system, for money, for power, for even on the level of our solar system to have our solar system. But who are they? Because we can only comprehend the program of vaccines, the Big Brother controls, by biometric passports, by cameras, by chips, by satellites. We can only understand all these agenda points by electronical ways if we understand the base. So what's the base? And in my own profession, anthropology, you make also studies from the clay tablets from Sumeria, what's now Iraq. A lot of people is not knowing why is the war in Iraq. It's not only about oil or gas. It's not for helping the people there with democracy. It's democracy. Because in Iraq there are a lot of gates. When we remember from the Bible, which is a book about a period before Atlantic period and after Atlantic period, you have to understand the Bible. Bible means books, bibloi. And if we seek about the roots, about Babel, Bab, Ili, what's now a place in Iraq. Bab, Ili means the gate of the gods. Who are the gods? If you look to the books which are always forbidden by the Roman Catholic Church, the books of Enoch, which means in Hebraic language, the initiated person, Enoch is Hermes Trismegistos from Egypt, or Teuti or Thoth. It are all the same names from initiated persons which we know in the Bible as Enoch. And Enoch, I repeat it again, means the initiated one, but it is a group of persons. So in my life I'm educated in the Hermetical tradition. I was 4 years working in the big library in Amsterdam, the Hermetical Philosophy Library, the Bibliotheca Philosophica Hermetica, in which you can find back every tradition from the whole world about Egypt, mysticism, alchemy, Rosicrucians, and so on and so on. Even what the great astronomers really thought, like Bruno, like Copernicus, because they are coming from a spiritual tradition. So back to the question and back to my answer. What is the base from the agenda? You have to look in a totally other way than education is giving you to the university. Because university, what are they learning? Unus means in Latin one. Vertere means direction of the one. So the university is not university, but diversity. And the essence of the studies on the university is not being, but becoming. So you don't never hear about the books of Enoch, about the clay tablets. Of course you hear it once, but not with the energy. You have to look at that, you have to make studies of that, you have to place your mind and your spirit in the books and to seek what is the truth there. So I did it. I bought them from the best translations, because I don't know the script of the clay tablets, but I have the best translations, and not only myself, a lot of people. So a lot of people is gardening this text. And then you find, for instance, in Enuma Elish, the 7th clay tablet, you find more about Nibiru, the planet, from which the oldest texts, also from Egypt, are saying that once in 3,600 years this planet is coming in our solar system. So now in this time we are talking about climate change, and then in Copenhagen they are preparing the new world order, I'm sure.
We're sure too.
And they are telling a lot of things which are not correct. You have to realize that if you are telling lies, one day the universe or cosmos is giving you back everything you told to human being which suffers. There is no punishment. Punishment doesn't exist. There is a self-regulating program from wisdom in the universe. So if they are coming together for the climate change program in December, and they have a lot of other ways to finish their agenda, perhaps some ones are thinking now we have reached our results. No. You've made the top of your lies. And one day, what we call God, the totality of being, is giving you the mirror. Look at it. What did you do on this earth? Helping? Diminishing the suffering? Something doing for the animals, the plants, the human beings, other living beings? Or only grasping, taking, greeds, killing? So they are trying to make their agenda, because they also know that Nibiru is now in our solar system, and that it means a lot of consequence for the climate. We all know, if we do some some essays for what is the real background of the climate change. It's not CO2, we know it. We know it's the sun, it's the radiation, and we know, like the famous astrophysicians are saying now in 2012, one of the most strongest radiation is coming, perhaps even December 2012. And we know, but the governments are not saying that. They say to the people, you have to make a little packet with some drinking and some middle for healing yourself and some bread. In Holland they call that noodpakket, because there can come some difficult times. But they know on the highest level that Nibiru also is coming in our solar system and is arrived now. They call it Planet X. And some of the people who are very clever say, it's nonsense, Nibiru is not Planet X. The people who are not living in nonsense and know, because there is a knowing also from the inside, from the heart, they know that give a lot of problems in the climate. And you can find it also on the clay tablets. You can literally find in the clay tablets, if Nibiru is coming in our solar system, great changes in the climate. Floods, rains. Because our atmosphere and our magnetosphere and the ionosphere, which they try to influence by this devilish instrument, harp, is destroying our lovely creation. Perhaps these forces are thinking that they have the right to do that. No. They had the duty to help the creation. So they are on the wrong way. On the very wrong way. Because if our planet is now in great difficulties, and we have ancient knowledge that we can understand it, and there are honest teachers on this world, even older brothers from older star systems, they are here. You cannot talk to them with lies. They see everything. They are older souls. So the power who is now creating an answer in chaos, like their philosophy is saying, we are starting with these, antithese, synthese, and we are giving the change now. Then we have to go and awaken consciousness. What is this change? Is it our change? Is what we want to have? Is that our need, our spiritual need? No. So there are clay tablets, there are the books of Enoch, there are very ancient mythologies from the Hopi Indians, from the Mayas, from the Tibetan people which I have spoken, with whom I have contacts very deeply, very deeply. There are a lot of stories about Tibetan people which are not correct, even in a circuit which is not correct. They are one of the most oldest wise peoples after the flood of Atlantis. They have a lot of knowledge. And why I feel a very strong relationship also with the Tibetan people. Like I lived 11 years in the Pyrenees and exactly moved 9/11, 2001. That is because in my cells is a very strong relationship with this old wisdom. It's not from me. If you say it's that's wrong. Nothing is from you. Nothing is from me. The Buddha said once, you are a bala. A bala means you are a mad boy or a mad girl if you think that's mine. There is only one consciousness. And if I look in your eyes, you are a perfect expression in unity from this being. This being has no beginning and no end. It's never been born and can never die. you cannot understand by the mind or by looking to it, because you are that. You are an expression from that. So what the people of power is doing now, they have forgotten who they are. They are living in some arrogance. That's what we call the Luciferian arrogance. You have to take that literally. That one of the powerful beings, you can find the description in every mythology, the Christian mythology, in the Indian mythology, the Chinese mythology, that they were in rebellion to the love. That's the beginning of the ego. You want more and more and more. You're only thinking to your only destination. And you destroy a lot of things. You have not a feeling what it means, what is suffering. So our planet is in big problems because a little group, which we know as the descendants of the Nephilim, the Watchers, the clay tablets, they speak about the Watchers. They were interbreeding with the women of our earth. I found more than 20 sources about this history. Scientific sources, not New Age stories. They are forbidden knowledge on the university. Sometimes they are talking about the Gaians, or the Nephilim, or the Bene Ha-Gelochim in Hebraic language. And people thought these Gaians, these Nephilim, the sons of God, which sons, which? They think that is a story. That's a mythology. It has passed. No. They have interbreeded the human race, violated it, because our destiny was and is always to develop us in love and light, in immortality, not attached to a body, to a material body. We were always in a light body, like the Egyptian knowledge is saying, Merkaba. Or like the Cathars in the Middle Age had a lot of knowledge till today about the spiritual body, or what the Tibetan are calling diamantic body, light body. So they took human being in a material body, more and more and more and more and more. They changed the DNA. Even the scientists from Rusland are telling now stories that the junk DNA, and that's more than 97% from our DNA, is containing extraterrestrial materials. They don't recognize it from our Earth. They don't tell it to the university. Forbidden knowledge. So they changed our DNA, they changed our body, they changed our senses, they changed our way of looking by the third eye. They changed everything. And then we came in a story that we forget step after step after step, and you have to understand that that is a period of thousands of years. The agenda is very, very old. It is an agenda from Genesis, becoming, to, in the time we are living now, apocalypse. That means unveil. We are going to see the truth. The truth that we have had mountains of lies. People is going to awake. So the power of this Nephilim, these watchers, these Anunnaki, like the clay tablets are speaking, Anunnaki, that means the son of Anu. Anu is the super god who visited our earth. There's a lot of other gods. You can find so many sources about it. So the power of these extraterrestrial gods is the power of arrogance, not in the wholeness of the universe. not in the accordance of love. If we speak about God, that's not a personal image on a throne, governing with a big eye and looking to everyone. God is the word synonym for love, total intelligence, total being, immortality, always there, here and now. In the system of solar systems, there was a planet like Nibiru, in which are living on the inside people, and on the outside, like even on our Earth. We have living beings on the Earth, and we have living beings in the Earth. Nibiru came in great problems. You can find it even in the clay tablets. And you can read also there that they had the power to regulate the ways in the stars. You can read it in the clay tablets. They regulate the ways in the stars and the stargates. And one of that stargates was Bab Ili, the tower, like we know at this moment from the NASA, that are rocket towers. So they came on Earth, like the book of Enoch is giving a description, that they came in groups from 50. So that means they had space aircrafts, ships, in which 50 persons could be a landing on our Earth. In the book of Enoch you find they came on the mountain of Hermon, one of the most important mountains in the Middle East, in Israel. One of the mountains in which was the confrontation of the Christ and the evil. The evil is described under the ground. They made another mountain from it, but if you make studies of the Gnostic sources, it's the mountain Hermon, on which and in which the Christ was there. It was a confrontation, literally, from the power of the watchers of love and light, Christ. This is a force. It's not something from a church. Churches have changes everything what is the truth. And it was the confrontation from the power of arrogance, the Luciferian power, with a lot of evil watchers who wanted to have this planet, who wanted to have a war in our solar system, a star war, like some presidents in America and other presidents are preparing just now in our time. It's not a struggle, a battle only on our Earth. It's a struggle in our solar system. So don't think that we are only here on our Earth with living beings who are human. There are a lot of beings here now with plenty of love and beautiful forces, not for power, but for helping the planet in a very, very difficult situation. They made their agenda from Genesis to the end time. What is an end time? For instance, the calendar of the Mayas. It means only that all the karmas, the causes and the consequences, they are making traces through the history, and then they all are coming to an end. That means an end time. In this time, consciousness is changing. Not the conscious from total being, but the mind consciousness. And if you can control the mind, and you learn people that they are not conscious, love, light, immortality, but you learn them, they are only a personality, and you educate them. You are an ego, you are important. And you don't learn them the real spiritual essence, and you give them poison, literally. And you can give them also poison in the food. You can give them poison in the information. For instance, this power can buy the media. And people is thinking by looking to television That's the truth, because television is saying it and the journal is saying it. Mostly, not always, it's lies. So people don't realize they are under control from a long system with one destiny to control totally human being and to take them in personality so they can be a good slave. And then if the end time is approaching, you have special programs. What can you do more? Viruses, pandemic, you create it. Everyone who is looking to the sources of the pandemic knows that it is not coming from love and light, and that it is not a natural product from our planet, but that it is manipulated in the military laboratories. So even the persons who are doing that, they have to realize that the suffering which is coming from this is enormous. The media are not speaking about the Ukraine, what is happening there. The media are not speaking about the Minister of Health from Poland. They are not speaking about what is inside the vaccine, and that there are secret contracts between Big Pharma and the governments. So they killed the truth. And if you kill the truth, you have started to kill yourself. Because the base of the universe is truth. So the agenda from vaccination in several countries, they say that they had a lot of success. No, they reached a lot of suffering. People is not dying in 1 month or half a year. But they are weakening the system of immunity so enormous. And if they create, for instance, another virus or another bacteria, perhaps a plague, bubonic plague, I have the strong feeling that that is passing in the Ukraine. If you create that only for power, for more and more and more, you are so sick. You can torture people. You can kill people. You can poison people by food, by information. But please realize, every time you are doing that, you are killing yourself thousands of times, because reaction is coming. You cannot hide the truth. The truth will come above the ocean of lies. It's not taking a lot of time. It's coming very, very quickly. So their agenda is now coming in a point of we are going to reach our aim. We create a climate conference. We are creating a world crash on economical situation. And people are thinking, oh, it's going very bad now in the economical situation. But everything they have manipulated. It's so clear. You have only to look to the great banks. Manhattan Chase, Citi, Goldman Sachs. You want to know some more names? Everyone is knowing them. JP Morgan. They have the power of the money, but they have not the power of love. And if you have not the power of love, and you have the power of money, you have lost everything. I give you an instance I learned in India. Some of the Tibetan people said to me, it was a teacher, the Buddha planted one day his sword in the world of demons. What's a demon? A demon is a Greek word for one who has lost his conscience of daimon. And daimon is something else like demon. Daimon means your divine nature. We have abused this word. We have mixed it with other words. But if you have lost your divine nature, you are a demon. That means you are, like Gandhi said, only in greed, grasping, taking for yourself. You don't feel, you don't take care for living beings, only yourself. So you are sick, very, very sick, and I'm absolutely sure it's very difficult to find a doctor who can heal you, and the one who can heal you, you don't want to say that he exists, because he is nearer than your hands and your feet. You're lying. So now they are coming to the point, they think our agenda will be full and we are reaching our aim, but they are going to reach their destiny of total suicide. Suicide in the spiritual sense. So also the people who are doing this have the latest chance in the universe. Or you're going to the inside of the little spark of divine light, which is always there. And you open your eyes. Or you destroy yourself. Matter in matter. You have lost your soul, literally. So, I like to say also, perhaps there's a lot of fear on our planet, a lot of suffering. But in this moment, from fear and suffering, a lot of light is coming on the planet. A lot of people is now awakening. A lot of people is seeing all the relationships between the media, between big pharma, between the industries, between esoterical hidden knowledge which they have abused. Because esoteric tradition is something wonderful if you don't abuse it. It's secret knowledge for the past, but not for this moment. Everyone has to know what is the truth. In the secret knowledge in the past, they take something hidden because it was dangerous for people which were not ripe to receive some more knowledge. Like you don't learn to a child the higher principles of natural science. You have to give a little bit milk and more and more and more. But now the people is on a place that they have to know everything, and especially on the spiritual essence. So for finishing your question and my long journey, it's also my journey. I feel very strong there will a lot of things happening in the next months. Literally, in the next 2 years. You cannot say exactly 1 month more or less. And that we have a big chance to go back to the journey of becoming, to our being and the force of consciousness. Because if you come on a frontier and they ask you your passport, your identity, people is giving a paper with numbers, and then they are looking to your number and they look 1 second to your face. What I'm doing always is looking in their eyes and I'm saying, I'm the original, this is the copy. So we have lost the contact with the eyes. We have made the program from numbers, electronicals, observers, watchers, because the essence from the watchers is to control. Every system, electronical, is from the watchers. From a higher knowledge for controlling. And if we stay in the face of slaves, we roll up our sleeves when we say, okay, vaccination. It's very unnatural for our body, because our body is a temple. Our body is magnificent. Everything is regulating itself if we live in harmony with the universe, and food, and thinking, and speaking, and being. And the government and the ministries of health are learning us to give and to eat food with poison. And they say you only can save yourself by vaccination. A very unnatural method, which is weakening and weakening our natural system. It exists only 100 years. We exist so many million years in the form and never problems. So there is a lot of information also about the vaccinations on the internet and the journals, but not in the journals the honest information. And everyone, I say, do your research. And please, if there are honest journalists, and there are someone, absolutely, please, for diminishing the suffering, publish it. What is doing the vaccines with all this poison. And if the government is saying it's only a little bit mercury or a little bit squalene, you are not honest. Because in the same time, they are normally attacking the homeopathical method, which is using a little bit, and they say that's very dangerous. Or they say it's nothing. And they are doing the same thing now in their system. A little bit mercury, a little bit squalene, and so on and so on. But do you think that it is doing in your immune system and your mind consciousness? So they are taking people to the frontier of the personality. And you are making yes, we cannot. We have to awake. And we can awake every moment. Make yourself free from the chains of slavery. And let feel your strength from consciousness. We are not slaves. We are divine children. And they never can kill us. Never.
Right, you talk about, obviously, we've had some extraterrestrial manipulation to the human race. I wanted to find out, in your humble opinion and from the research that you've concluded, does that extraterrestrial race have something to do with Nibiru? And is the return of Nibiru also got something to do with this race perhaps returning to us? Jordan Maxwell talks about the rising sun that symbolizes the coming of something, and this rising sun has shown up behind President Obama's inauguration picture as well. Does this signal something that we should be looking out for? Is there a race coming? Give us your opinion on this.
I think absolutely that Planet X is Nibiru. I think also that the Jesuits know the secret, what they call Omega secret. They have very powerful instruments for looking in our solar system. And they think we don't know it. But the children on this earth who are here now, from other planet systems, they know, even without their instruments. So, what we see now, what I said in the changes of climate, is for one great piece caused by the entrance of Planet X Nibiru. What we call the Nephilim, or the Gaians, or the Bene Gelochim. For instance, there was an astronaut, McClelland, who has declared that he met one day a very big one watcher. He has declared it. Is this a story? No. No. Because the NASA is discovering a lot of information. And since about a half year, we don't get information what is coming inside in our solar system. It's forbidden now. About UFOs, perhaps you are a very good hacker and you got a lot of information from the Pentagon. and they say, this boy is crazy. Because he discovered that there is a long relationship between the knowledge about UFOs and about extraterrestrials. We feel very strong, not only in the mind, that planet X or Nibiru is already coming in our solar system, and that the power elite tries to let come in stability this planet and our solar system, because the power elite is in their DNA in relationship to these Nephilim. So even their power is dependent from another power. And every time if there is power which is dependent, it's weakness, because you have not the power from the inside. If you have the power of the kingdom of God, that is the state of highest consciousness, we are, not only one person, everyone. You have a power in which there is no king and no slave. Therefore it is called in the Gnosis, the Gnostic tradition, the kingdom of God. God means total consciousness. So the people here on earth, which are in a very powerful situation, they don't realize that one day they have to leave also their body. What's your power? What's your power? What can you do? Even you have to lose your body. You cannot govern your own body. What's your power? So like the Buddha said, if you don't realize that you are born and you have to die as long as you are in a material body, you think you have power. It's dependent power. So the power on Nibiru, where are living Nephilim, big ones, literally big ones, bigger than we are, in the form, 2.5, 3 meters and more, big ones, giants, which in the ancient times could make a lot of buildings with a lot of knowledge, and even Stonehenges, etc. You had good ones and bad ones. So a lot of people in the governments here on this earth are in relationship under the ground with secret lodges, and know from Nibiru, which is coming inside our system. They are servants from a higher power. It's like a pyramid. If Christ is saying, I'm the top stone and the base stone, that means we all are not in the power from the top and the base, but we are all together the power, the consciousness. So I think and I feel, and I have also the sources, that this planet is coming inside our system now. That gives a lot of trouble. Perhaps in some months or a half year or a year, floods, more floods, earthquakes, not only from Nibiru but also from other causes. And it's better that we give step for step people more information, because in the other way there is coming panic, and they feel always very strong, something more is passing here on the planet, and we have to be honest, because if we can prepare us, and we can prepare us on the inside and not attached to our body, because a lot of people now is reacting, I'm going to South Africa, or I'm going to the high mountains, and I lived in the mountains 11 years. It was not difficult to stay there. I'm not a rich person financially. I have enough. What's enough? A lot of things you don't need. I lived there very calm, very in silence. I read my books, and not two more times I give a lecture. But I came back. Exactly on 9/11/2001 from the Pyrenees. Exactly. Because I felt very strong, we have to give what I call the children of the planet a lot of information for preparing on the spiritual side. Because we are spiritual beings. And if you want to protect your material body by bunkers and underground cities, oh poor people, I would like to be there. The power is there are cities under the ground. Pooh. Perhaps they are thinking, I have regulated everything. Every time I did do my best. Even I have regulated the cruises, the great boats. They are for me. If the flood is coming, you're totally crazy. Your body, you have to lose it one day. But you are a spiritual being. A spiritual being. Do you hear? You are a spiritual being. So we have lived such a long times in the matrix, in the prison of the material factors. And now all the forces from love and light are creating the possibility to come out of this matrix, even to change our material body in a light body, even to change our DNA. There are a lot of forces of light coming to us. Let them laugh who say this people is totally crazy. The question is not if you are crazy or not. The question is, are you feeling your heart or only your head? We have a lot of clever people with a very heavy head, but a very feeble heart. And there are a lot of heart attacks because people don't feel their heart. So let them laugh and let them make protection for their material body. Time is coming very, very close that we can make a very big transformation if we prepare the good conditions in our spirit, if we prepare the inner way, if we are feeding ourselves in good knowledge, in good food, in good health, for changing our body. That's the change. Mr. Obama is not speaking about it because he has a lot of people around him which are very old and very known. You know, I feel even a very big compassion with them. Normally people make them to enemy. No, I have compassion with them. Because they think to know. They think to have the power. They think to regulate the solar system. But if in 1 second the power of life and love leave their body, nothing. This is what the Buddhas called the biggest sickness is ignorance. Who you are, what you are, being, not becoming. So everything, if you are saying now we are going to change the planet, take care. The planet is going automatically the process of changing. You have nothing to do. Perhaps you think, oh, I'm now regulating it with harp and with manipulating the ionosphere. Do you really realize what is the universe? And that there are thousands, innumerable universes like drops in the consciousness ocean? You are totally ill. This force, harp, computers, digital systems are placed from little children who don't know. Do we realize what is love? This is the biggest forces in the universe. So let us be aware that hope is not a projection from, okay, we need hope because the other baby cannot live. No, hope is the begin and the end of everything. Because the dark side is living in ignorance. And even as planet X is coming nearer and nearer, and they make their plans for let it come in our solar system. Even they have some ideas, perhaps we have to offer our planet Earth or destroy the Earth for giving a place to Nibiru. Who do you think that you are? Who do you think that created all the universe? Power? Yes, the power of love. So, if we are going through dark months or perhaps dark years, and Nibiru is coming inside, and they are fulfilling the agenda of the dark side, we have to try to develop compassion. It's the highest we can do in our human being, compassion. That doesn't mean that we are fable persons, because love can be very, very severe. Even the great teachers like Buddha and Christ and other persons, even Krishna used his disc as a force for destroying the form of demons, the form, not the essence. So let's give information to the people. Let them know everything. Because the people who cannot understand it at this moment, they forget it. They forget it. But some seeds stay in their spirit. And if the moment is ripe, it can grow like a tree, like a mustard seed, which become a very, very big tree. So let's give all the information on a worthy way, in a way of dignity, and tell each other what we can do, but we can prepare that even if other beings are coming here in our system with not such good ideas and not such good aims, we are not fable, we are not slaves. All the churches, nearly all the churches have tried to take people small, little. You are a sinner. Your destiny is hopeless if you have not a church. You have to believe in our God. Which God? The God of projections, the God of power, the God of lands, the God of banks. This is all a matrix. Spiritual beings are free from every religion and every system. Do you really think that in other solar systems people are going to a church or a mosque or a synagogue? That's for the children on the earth. And I don't want to say negative things to them, absolutely not. But a free human being, his body is his temple. His heart is his altar. The smell of the spirit is his incense. And the fire in the heart is the fire of God. Then you are an adult in spirituality. So try to make free everyone who is on this planet in the system of the matrix, from political systems, religion systems, economical systems, education systems, knowledge systems. It's all planned in the agenda, all very old. And before you are becoming free and you have a little insight, it takes a lot of time. But if one is carrying this insight, it's like the 100th monkey, you know the story. It's going very quickly. It's a spark from fire, and a whole wood can come in the fire of love and insight. We have to organize each other. We have to show our strengths, not in violence. Never, never do that. Because the highest forces is non-violence. Violence is weapons, is instruments, is technology that's outside of you and destroys your humanity. Real force is non-violence. Ahimsa, that means you are in the truth. And even if they destroy your body, they have won nothing. They have lost something. Respect for the sacred creation.
You mentioned earlier on the Jesuits when you were talking about who is in control of this planet. Would you please share some of your knowledge and information with regards to the Catholic Church's involvement in the control structure and how they're situated and how they control things?
First of all, I think, because I made also studies from comparative religions, that you have to make a great difference between a lot of people in religions who have a very honest aim. For instance, in the Catholic Church you have priests and nuns who really tried in other countries to help people. If we are looking now, then we say, on what way you did it? You want to convert everyone, and the only one you have to convert is yourself. Some people went to Africa and said, we have 1,000 black people converted. No, don't convert other people, convert yourself. Okay, there are good ones and bad ones, but that's not what I mean in a strict duality, because I don't like these images, but it's only a middle for helping to understand. On the top from every religious system are powerful, normally men, because the monotheistic religion suppress always woman wisdom. Always. If you look to the Catholic Church, man, where's the woman? Maria van Magdala was one of the greatest initiated persons who came from Egypt. I know a lot of things, not knowing from the ego about this beautiful woman. The church in the Middle Age from the Cathars was named the Church of Petra, not Petrus. Petros on Greek and Latin Petrus means a rock. But Petrus was one of the disciples who didn't understand a lot of things. But Maria van Magdala, like we see in the Gospel of Nagamadi and apocryphal texts, was a very wise and lovely person. She was not a whore. That's what the church made of her. Because the church a long time hate woman wisdom. In the same times they learned the celibat. Look to their big problems with the men. The problems with children. The problems with women. Because if you suppress sexuality, and you don't know the force and energy of sexuality, and you don't know that it is the same force from the higher love, but that you can sublimate it in a natural way, not in a forced way. It can overcome you in a normal way. But if you suppress all this energy and you say that's devilish or that you are a sinner, then normally there is something in your own head wrong, and you have that problem. You see it in every church. Man, suppression from woman. The most wise disciples around Christ were Magdala, Sarah, Anna, Johannes, the initiated. There is such a lot of information about them. The church is only giving 4 Gospels, the canon. They don't talk about the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philippus, the Nagamadi, the Essene Gospels of peace in which Christ is talking about reincarnation, over vegetable food, about not killing even animals, he say. Christ is explaining in the Essene Gospels how people is becoming sick. He talks about the causes and the consequences in a very lovely way. But if you understand, for instance, the Gospel of Thomas, my friend Erik van Ruysbeek and myself have explained it in several times, several languages, this Gospel, then you understand also, if you understand the Gospel of Thomas, that you don't need a church. So you don't need the power. You don't need the institute. You don't need to give the money to them. You don't need to give the money to the priest. Look to the Catholic Church. On the top, a lot of power. The Cathar said in the Middle Age, they are living like kings and princes, and the most of contacts were with princes and kings. They lived in castles and palaces. I cannot find the spirituality from Christ in this environment. Don't collect treasures of the world. Christ was very popular in the time he lived in the Jewish people. A lot of Jewish people were in love with him. But there was also in Israel a little group of power, the Sabbatan. The Sabbatan people have a very old knowledge from a very old time. They have a nucleus from 12. Christ had also 12, which has a correlationship between 12 forces in our solar system and 12 points on our Earth. They were called fissures. Why? Not because they were literally fissures. They were fissures of the soul from human being in that difficult time, from the passage to fisherman period, which is the preparation, as you know, for the Aquarian period, which is the end of a bigger Yucca period than only 960 years. It's bigger. Christ has an esoterical teaching. I wrote 2 books about Christ, the parables. How can you understand the parables? The third volume is appearing next year, and then I try to explain every parable from the inner knowledge, from the old tradition. For the people who could hear and have the eyes a little bit open, he told the parables. And the nucleus of the parable is the hidden knowledge. And to the disciples he told directly in gnosis. Even in the Greek tradition you find in the Bible that the disciples are asking why you are telling us everything in gnosis and the other people in parables. And then he said, because you can understand directly. They need a little bit milk and water. That means not too quickly. They cannot understand it at this moment. But the group who we recognize in the Bible, like the Sabbatans, was a very powerful group. And they couldn't like it that a lot of Jewish people even loved Christ. I cannot tell everything about this because I try to do that in my publications and the time is too short. But this power is living till our time. Is living till our time. And everyone who is informed really knows that it is the same power from that time which is regulating the agenda in our time. Take care by creating enemies. Take care by finger pointing and saying they are the only ones. Because if there are groups which are very powerful, there are also reasons wherefore they came in the uprise of our planet. And if we can absolutely say that we have no debt, that we are free from everything, you can finger pointing. But you have to know that 3 fingers are pointed to yourself. Yeah? So we can discovering everything and looking to the causes and the consequences. And then we see that after a lot of concilies, the power from Nicaea, the power of the bishops, the mans, came in the highest position. They didn't learn people that there is reincarnation. You can find a lot of sources in Christianity, very lot of factors. They didn't learn that women and men are in the equal spiritual sense the same. Only in the manifestation of the form is an important difference, of course. You are not born as a woman for nothing, or in a body from a man. didn't learn this process. They learned the people you have to believe, not to know. If you know, you don't believe. If you know, gnosis, you don't need the institute, because you know, you are not dependent. So they create an institute in dependence. They said, if you want to become free in Christ, you have to believe in us. We are mother the church, in which is no woman. Is it not a little bit particular? Mother the church, in which is no woman in the power. Then they said, we have in heaven and hell and a lot of other situations in which you are coming if you don't do what we are saying. If you do what we are saying, you are going to heaven. If you don't do, you are a sinner, you're coming in hell. And then we have other situations for the little children. And if you are doubting, you are coming in another situation. Lies. It's a system of slavery. It's a system of dependence. Therefore you need to pay also for this system. And if you die, they create a lot of messes for you. Because there's a dependence system. What is dying? Only your body. Like the Bhagavad Gita is saying, you leave your body like clothes, and the energy from your essence is coming back. So you are weeping. By what? Of course, sorrow can be in your heart. And the missing of a very precious being you loved, of course. But there is no need for a system which is creating dependence from that. Church had Inquisition, crusades. They had the fire staples, brandstapel, the fire staples. They killed, you know how many people? Professor Kuhn, a Catholic theologian, said in his book about eternity that the Catholic Church killed about 60 million people. You know, also Stalin did that. Mao Zedong did that. I did say that. Kuhn, a very famous theologian, said it. By crusades, by Inquisition, by the hate to women, the witches. Witches? Wiccas, the woman of wisdom. So if the root is not in love, and there is coming a tree of power, and the branches are coming around the world for manipulating, regulating, controlling, even controlling after your death, you are not in love. Therefore, the big writer, Dostoevsky, wrote a book about the great Inquisitor. And he supposed in his story that Christ came back on earth. He had such beautiful eyes. And then the bishop in Spain, like the story from Dostoevsky is saying, take him into prison. And Christ only looks in his eyes and said, what are you doing now? Do you know who I am? Yes, and he didn't look in his eyes. I know who you are. You are the Christ. But we, the church, have chosen the power. What does the story mean? Every time people who are living from the christening of Christ, or the Buddha, or what name it is, it's not the name, but who are living from this breeze, they try to take in the prison, but they don't realize these people are always free. Therefore they don't look in their eyes, because the races of the snake gods have other eyes than the people of light. So let us have also compassion with that people, because the spark of light is also in their heart, but they have forgotten it.
I just wanted to ask you a bit about the power of intent.
Yeah.
A lot of people misunderstand how powerful this is. In fact, most people don't even know that intent has a power, and they think that what is manifested outwardly has nothing to do with what their intent of that mission was. how would you explain intent to somebody who has absolutely no knowledge or understanding of this power whatsoever?
Yeah. If we speak about the power of intent, in essence we speak about the power of consciousness, because everything which is happening outside is a reflection of the consciousness inside. And even outside is also consciousness, but it is the level on the surface. So if you see a movement in a lake on the surface, and you have through in the lake a little stone which is coming very deeply, then we have to realize that the waves on the surface are the consequences of the stone you threw in the depth. Intent and intention means that it is coming from the inside, our feeling, our consciousness, our thinking, our acting. So if people is becoming in awakeness, they're going to awake to who they are, what they are. They are awaking from the lies, thousands of lies. It's for weeping if you realize so much lies are on this world, mountains of lies and lies. But people is going to understand that. You cannot hide the truth. Impossible. So a lot of people is coming now in the feeling, in the consciousness of we can do something, we can act from the inside, and they are realizing that everything they are feeling, thinking, doing is giving a reaction. So imagine that we can organize all the power of consciousness, which is one. It is one. It's already one. But we think from the mind, it's diversity. You, me, thousands, millions, milliards, billions, trillions, etc. But there is one consciousness. As if we awake to what we really are, this consciousness, which is one. And we realize also that everything we say, think, act, is having consequences literally in the whole universe. If the Zen master Dogen, which was a very famous Zen master Dogen, he break down every system from your mind. If he said, if you with your finger give a direction to the heaven, you have to realize that the whole universe is changing. Happily, not too much. Like the butterfly who is flying in the forest can make a storm. We know that now with our theories of science. So if the children of the earth are awakening to their divine consciousness, they can make a storm of love, changement in the outside, which are no reactions from old systems. Because what we call now changement is no changement, it's the old system. There's new clothes. And because people is having such a strong feeling from I like to be home in myself, they believe the change is outside them. And they don't believe in the change inside them. So the power of intent is that if we are going to awake quickly, what I say is not correct, because you cannot take a force and say you have to awake. It's impossible. But I mean it as an image. If the people is going to awake quickly, very quickly, then we create a field of consciousness on the planet, in the planet, from our heart, which can give a resistance to every negative, dark power. If you awake in the morning, or I awake in the morning, we don't realize we are coming back from a sleep, which was a unification from my little soul, Jiva, Atman, with the big soul of the universe. And in the morning you are saying, oh, I slept so well. I slept so well. But who is that I that said I slept so well? Because if you are sleeping, you don't remember yourself. Intention means that you are going to awake also on the E, the I. The I that slept very well is the self, the big Atman. That was in a dreamless state or in a dream state. But if you are going further, you awake above dreamless state and dream state and sleeping even. Even if the body is on the bed and sleeps, you are completely yourself, in peace, in love, in light. And the body is automatically doing what he has to do. Turning the body about 2 hours, streaming the blood, beating the heart, listening. Are you doing something? A few o'clock in the night and you say, oh, I have to turn my body and to take care for my heart beating? It's going automatically. So awakening means also that we are going to awake above every form. And that's not for one person, and Buddha or Christ, for everyone, everyone. If we think, oh, he, she's doing wrong. Everyone is having this intention of power of consciousness in him, herself. We have not only forgotten, we are manipulated to forget this force. Churches, political systems, bank systems, material conditions, education, knowledge. They have only one aim, and we think, okay, that is not an aim, they forgot it themselves. Yes, it's their aim, their agenda, that you forget everything, who you are, what you are. And if you awake to your intention, what you are the only real force. The rest of the force is dependent. And if you have dependent force, you have to give it food, energy, oil, gas, electronical food, food for here. But if you live from yourself, in yourself, out yourself, without beginning, without dying, they cannot kill you. Like the Bhagavad Gita is saying, a sword cannot split it, water cannot make it wet, wind cannot move it, fire cannot burn it, because what you are is independent. And we have lived thousands of years in a matrix of dependency, slavery. Lulus say the clay tablets. Lulu means slaves. Even in the Gospel of Philippus from Nagamadi, there is a beautiful text that Argon means Lucifer, tries ions, that means age after age after age, to make human being to a copy, to an object, and then the text is saying for making him to a slave. And now we are going to awake to our intention. This is a power. This is the real power. And if the system tries to stop this power, and to say you are only that, and you have to listen to us, they've forgotten one thing. If a seed is in the ground, it can never refuse to become a big tree. You can destroy the seed, you can destroy the tree, but you can never destroy the force in the seed, in the tree, in the soil, in the rain, in the heaven, in the solar systems, in the galaxy, in the universes. And it is this force which is the base of intention.
At Freedom Central, we try to provide a platform for people like yourselves who have a message for humanity. And as I started this off, this interview, I said that you're definitely someone who has a message for humanity, and that's why you've come along this journey. So just before we close off, could you share your message for humanity? with us?
My name is Messing. And Messing is very close to a metallic energy. That means to join things together. But I always ask myself also the question why you have this name. And one day I met a person from England who made a long march to me, to our home. At that time we lived in Holland. He had walked 300-400 kilometers for visiting me, and his name was Messenger, literally. He said, I have a message for you. And he came 3 days in our home. He told me a lot of things from the past, from the knowledge he had. And then he said, don't you think it's a sort of coincidence? Your name is Messing. That means in the alchemical language that you have to unify a lot of things. For people showing that they are not pieces, but this unity. And my name is Messenger. I was about 12, 13, 14 years that I had a very strong feeling that I lived in another way, thought in another way, without saying I'm particularly, because that can become arrogance. Because then you are in duality there and here. You are not more and they are not less, but I was living in another way. Very quickly I felt in my body no meat, no alcohol, etc. I saw the world in another way, and I felt a very strong longing to my real home. I had the feeling, what is this for a planet here? It was like a landing here, and then step after step things are becoming clear in your consciousness. Dus after the period in the Netherlands we changed from country and we lived in the Pyrenees, 11 years. I have to tell a little story, is it allowed?
Yes, of course.
About 18 years ago I worked in Amsterdam in the Bibliotheca Philosophica Hermetica. And the owner asked me and my colleague to go to New York and to look to a manuscript of the Grail from Dubourg. It's one of the most famous Grail manuscripts. If you read Parsifal, Wolfgang von Eschenbach and other manuscripts, is Dubourg, a very precious Grail manuscript. It was also very expensive in money, but I never did something with money that were other persons. And I said, okay, it's a beautiful manuscript, it's real, it's absolutely very precious in spiritual sense. And then in the early evening I went to the Empire State Building and my colleague went to another side of New York. It's a very high building, like you know, the Empire State Building, and you can see the Twin Towers. Not very good, but you can see them. And suddenly, when I look there, and I am a man who likes very much to climb the mountains, and I lived in the mountains, we were very often on the tops of the mountains. I like that because the sight is beautiful, the silence is beautiful. You feel the strong of the spirit, and then you understand why Christ and Hermes Trismegistus and the Buddha gave their preachings on the top of the mountains, because there is a very special energy. But I don't feel my very good on high buildings. And I looked down and I thought people is totally crazy. Such little automobiles, no trees in the streets. And then I looked to the Twin Towers and I suddenly saw, and I speak about more than 18 years ago, that they collapsed. I thought, what is happening here? That's not possible. My heart was beating very strong. In the evening I went to my hotel and I phoned to my soulmate, my wife, Marijke, and I said, I saw something awfully. I don't know why, wherefore, when, but there is an inside knowing that it will happening. She, me, we forget it after some years, and then we lived in the mountains of the Pyrenees, in the environment of the Qatars. And I got a lot of information about the wisdom from the Qatars. I wrote a book about it, and I'm preparing a book with the essence of the wisdom of Qatars. And then, after a period of 11 years, I suddenly said to Marijke, I feel we have to go back to the lowlands, the Netherlands, Belgium. At that time I gave some teachings in the Netherlands, in Belgium, also in Poland, other countries. And then she said, okay, I feel the clock is round, we have to go back. It was a time of preparing, a time of writing, a time of silence, a time of meditation, a time of living in the forest, a time of living in the rivers, a time of climbing the mountains, a time of awakening in the night, a wonderful time. Then you know what is nature. And then we went to the immigration service institution, and then we made an appointment for moving. And then the owner of the moving society said, when do you want, which date you like to emigrate to Belgium? I said, the 13, 14, 15. Quand c'est possible, peut-être le 15 ou la 9e mai. Non, 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 non. Que le 11, c'est possible. Only 11 September is possible for your immigration. I said, okay, if that is the only date in your agenda, 9/11, we are going to leave France and emigrate to Belgium on 9/11. And then, exactly on that date, we were in the autocar. And Marijke is always driving. I'm not a good driver. I'm walking in the forest and I can find every place, but in the traffic, please don't do that with me. And then she was driving and I suddenly said, I was a little bit in meditation, I said, please Marijke, do you want to change the radio program? We were listening, I thought, to France Culture, and I said, can you change it to Radio 1, Radio 1? And suddenly we came in the program that the Twin Towers were collapsing. And I was very pale. Marijke said, I never saw you so pale in your life at that moment only. And I said to her, Marijke, this is the beginning of a totally change of everything. This planet is going to change. People is going to change. Even the solar system. This is the start point. Like I found in the old sources of Egyptian that even 17 September, not 11, is the date mentioned in the pyramid because Wall Street opened on 17 and not on 11. That was the destruction. So I had a program where we went back to Belgium now, our third country, and the first lecture I gave, it was regulated. The title was The Great Changes on Earth. So I started for thousands of people in the Netherlands and Belgium and other countries for telling what has happened. I wrote my book about Will We Awake. Normally I don't write books like that, because I wrote always books about pure spirituality, about philosophy, anthropology. But now I felt very strong, you have to write a book like this, because there is a danger even for the path of human being. Which path? The path for going inside. If they are blockaded by anxious or control systems, They don't take the time for going inside who they are on their journey of becoming. They think we are always becoming, but they are. So I started to write with two hands. I once said to journalists, take care for me if I'm going to write with two hands. I don't mean it literally, I don't mean it in time. Because we all have to write the truth and not the lies. So I started with books, poems, lectures, and sometimes day and night, literally. And if you call that a message, it's a big word. I'm always a little bit afraid to use too big words, but in essence, it is a message. It's a message, because you feel absolutely in your conscience, you are here on this earth, now, in this situation, for making free all the knowledge which is in your consciousness. It's not your knowledge. You are not the owner. You've not the right to say it's my knowledge. The knowledge which is given to you in this reincarnation, in this body. Make it free in a quick time. Let people know everything what they can understand and want to understand. And please give them the teaching that they are, like me and everyone, even the most little insects are from a spiritual nature. So the essence of my message is that we are going to have now, I feel it, difficult months, difficult years, but we can everything understand and sustain if we are going back to our essence of being a spiritual being. And that we need also in our time meditation and prayer. Not a prayer from asking something to someone outside, but the real essence of prayer is that we are going back to our gratitude. That's the essence of prayer. So I always said I prefer to die standing and to touch bare feet who destroy everything, because you cannot kill me. It's impossible. And I learned in the same time, try to develop compassion, because nothing, no living being is outside the force of the eternal breathing, the ruha or ruach, what the Indians are calling the Hopi Dala. So on our journey we have also the chance to discover more level of consciousness in ourself, the self as big self. That's my message a little bit, and perhaps people can do something with that. And if the day is coming that I have to leave my body, I hope to die with a smile.
Marcel Messing, it was an absolute honour and a privilege to have your time today, and obviously I hope we can catch up with you at some stage soon so that we can share some more of your wisdom.
Thank you so much, and I want to give you my love for the beautiful work you are doing. It's so important that persons like you and other persons are telling the truth from the side of love and spirituality.
Thank you very much.